The night on planet Tarthus 9 was not silent. Far above the green-black forests, 3 moons floated like silver coins. The jungle below was alive with whispers. The rustle of giant leaves, the cry of winged beasts, and the distant hum of the observation station. Inside that station, glowing screens painted strange shadows across cold metal walls. And in one corner of the jungle, the predator cubs of the Karnak species twisted in their sleep. They were born to be hunters, strong, swift, and fearless, but tonight they were afraid. The cubs cried out softly, claws scraping the floor of the den. Their eyes fluttered open and shut. They were dreaming, but their dreams were wrong. Dark, broken, full of shadows that did not belong. Inside the control tower above them, the monitors watched in silence. They were tall, thin creatures with glassy skin and eyes that glowed like molten gold. Their faces were calm, but their hands trembled as the data poured across their screens. The monitors had watched these cubs for months. They had studied their brainwaves, their heartbeats, their instincts. But what they saw now, no one could explain. Their leader, Zira 10, stood in front of the largest screen. Her long fingers tapped the console as rows of data blinked in red. "Still no pattern," whispered one of the younger monitors. His voice shook. Zyra's golden eyes flicked toward him. "Run the scan again," she said coldly. "We already did. 10 times. It's the same." The cub's brain signals, chaotic, unlinked. Fear spikes without stimulus, without cause. "Yes, Chief, no sound, no threat, no energy field nearby." Zira looked back at the screen. The signals looked like lightning trapped in glass, wild, untamed, meaningless. "No," she said slowly. "Not meaningless. Something's missing, something we can't read." She turned toward the observation window. From here she could see the cubs far below, tossing and crying in their den. They were afraid of something unseen, and Zyra hated the unseen. The monitors of Tarthus 9 prided themselves on control. They were watchers of the wild, masters of data. Every life form, every sound, every pulse of this jungle was recorded, measured, understood. Nothing happened without pattern, until now. The young monitor spoke again, voice trembling. "Chief, maybe it's the weather? The magnetic storms from the outer ring?" "No storm tonight," Zira cut him off. "No interference. This is something else." She leaned closer to the screen. "Expand the sound log. 40 megahertz range." The sound file opened. For a few seconds there was only silence, then a soft hum. Almost too low to hear, a patternless vibration. But beneath it, faintly, was a rhythm, a heartbeat. Zira frowned. "That's not Karnak frequency." The young monitor checked his console. "Then what is it?" Zyra didn't answer. The hum continued, a slow, steady thump like a pulse buried deep in the data. The cub's fear rose every time the hum appeared. "Source?" she demanded. "Unknown," came the reply. "It's not local." The sounds bouncing through the atmosphere. "Could be an echo." Zyra stepped back. Her tail flicked once in irritation. "Nothing echoes on Tarthus 9. Find it." Below in the jungle, the cubs stirred again. The smallest one, with silver stripes along his neck, lifted his head. His ears twitched. He could hear it too, that sound like a memory. A hum that made his heart ache and calm at the same time. He crawled toward the edge of the den, peering through the vines. The forest shimmered in silver light. The air felt heavy, waiting. Behind him, the other cubs whimpered, eyes wide. They were born hunters, but tonight they felt like prey. Then the smallest cub froze. The hum was growing louder, and now he could hear something else with it. A voice, soft, low, human. Inside the observation tower, alarms flickered. "Energy reading. Approaching from orbit," cried the young monitor. Zyra's head snapped up. "What kind of energy?" "Thermal atmospheric entry. It's a ship." But what? No identification code. It's human." For a heartbeat, no one spoke. "Human." Zira's voice dropped to a whisper. "Impossible." The other monitors exchanged nervous glances. No human had set foot on Tarthus 9 in over 50 years. Not since the war. Not since the sky burned red and both species had nearly destroyed each other. "Are you certain?" "Yes, Chief. Small craft. Unarmed. Landing in the jungle near the cub's den." Zira stared at the glowing map. The ship's signal was faint but clear. "What are they doing here?" she muttered. "No one knows this world exists anymore." The young monitor swallowed hard. "Maybe it's a lost explorer?" "Explorers don't come to predator worlds," Zyra replied sharply. And they don't arrive when cubs are crying in their sleep. Her eyes flicked toward the observation window again. The cubs had gone silent. All of them were awake now, sitting perfectly still, staring into the forest. Their golden eyes glowed faintly. Their ears twitched toward the same direction, the direction of the landing site. The hum grew louder. The heartbeat on the monitor synced with theirs. Outside, in the jungle, the darkness stirred. The landing pod came down through the thick canopy, silent as a falling leaf. Its surface glowed faintly blue, burning away the mist. The cubs watched, unblinking. When the pod touched the ground, the air rippled. The hum stopped. A door hissed open. For a long moment, there was no movement. Then a figure stepped out. She was small compared to the towering Karnak hunters dressed in a worn survival suit. The visor retracted, revealing a human face, pale from space travel, eyes bright and searching. The monitors in the tower gasped. "Confirm visual," Zyra ordered. The image focused. Human. Female. Alone. The woman looked around the forest slowly. Her name was Ilara. To her, the jungle of Tarthus 9 was not a place of monsters. It was a memory. She had been here once before as a child, before the war burned everything. She took a deep breath. The air was thick with life, and then she heard it, the soft cries of the cubs. Her expression softened. "So it's true," she whispered. "They survived. Back in the tower, the monitors panicked. She's heading straight for the den." "Stop her signal!" "She's unarmed, Chief. Shall we send a drone?" Zyra raised a hand. "No," the others froze. "Observe only," she said quietly. "Let's see what the prey does." The room fell silent except for the steady beep of sensors. On screen, the woman moved through the undergrowth carefully. She carried no weapon, only a small glowing capsule in her hand. When she reached the den, she stopped. The cubs growled softly, backing away. But none of them attacked. Ilara knelt slowly. She placed the capsule on the ground. The device opened with a soft hiss, releasing a faint blue mist. Inside it was something small, round and humming gently. A pulse of light matched the cubs' heartbeats. Zyra leaned closer to the screen. "What is that?" The young monitor shook his head. "Unknown human tech. Low energy signature." The cubs crept closer, sniffing the air. One of them, the silver-striped cub, stepped forward and touched the device with his nose. The blue light flared, then settled into a steady rhythm. At that moment, every screen in the observation tower lit up in perfect harmony. The cubs' brainwaves, once chaotic, aligned. The random signals merged into a single smooth pattern. The fear was gone. Zyra's eyes widened. She stabilized them. How? I don't know. She watched as Ilara smiled gently and spoke to the cubs. The monitors couldn't hear her words clearly, but her tone was calm, soft, almost like a song. The cubs lowered their heads. The silver-striped one pressed close to her knee. "Chief," whispered one of the technicians. Should we contact her?" "No," Zyra said quietly. "We listen." Outside, the jungle seemed to breathe with her. The air itself hummed with new rhythm. Ilara looked around and whispered, "You still remember us, don't you?" Her voice trembled, not with fear but with emotion. "These cubs," she said softly. "Their parents were the first ones who trusted a human." She touched the device again. "You still remember the song." The monitors were silent. The young technician swallowed hard. "Chief," her voice, "it matches the sound pattern we detected earlier." Zyra turned sharply. "What?" "She's the source. The hum, the heartbeat, it's hers." Zyra stared at the human on the screen, surrounded by the cubs. A strange feeling twisted inside her chest. Something like curiosity, or recognition. "Impossible," she whispered. "A human heartbeat cannot sync with a predator's mind." But the data said otherwise. Every signal, every pulse, every neural wave now in perfect harmony. Suddenly, the screen flickered, the background noise spiked, and the hum changed. "Something else," the technician cried. "Another signal detected, deeper in the jungle." Zyra's voice dropped. "What kind of signal?" It's like hers, human but older, faint, almost buried." Zyra's heart pounded. "There's another one?" The technician nodded. "Yes, Chief, but the pattern..." He froze. "The pattern is the same as 50 years ago." Zyra turned toward the window, her golden eyes reflecting the moonlight. 50 years ago," she murmured, "was the war." In the jungle, Ilara looked up suddenly. The cubs pressed close to her, sensing her unease. The air trembled. The hum deepened. Somewhere far beneath her feet, something was waking up. Back in the tower, Zira gave her command. Track that signal. And for now, no interference. Let the human move. But, Chief, she's part of it, Zira interrupted. The cubs stopped fearing when she arrived. That's not coincidence. That's connection. She turned back to the window. Down below, the human woman walked deeper into the forest, the cubs following silently behind. And above, in the cold, silent tower, Zira whispered words that no monitor had said in generations. The machines see no pattern, but the heart always knows one. The jungle of Tarthus 9 was awake now. Mist hung over the ground like silver smoke, and strange creatures whispered in the leaves. In the middle of that alien night, a single human walked beneath the glowing vines, Commander Ilara Ven. The cubs followed her silently, their golden eyes bright in the dark. They should have been afraid of her, but something inside them said safe. Something older than memory. Echoes of war high above, the observation tower watched everything. Zira 10 stood tall before the main screen, her reflection shining back in gold. Every heartbeat, every breath from the human was recorded, but none of it made sense. Temperature stable, pulse normal, said a young monitor. No weapon detected. Then why are you shaking? Zira asked. The young one looked away. Because humans don't come here. Zira didn't reply. She remembered the stories, how human ships once filled the sky with fire, how their voices carried peace and death in the same breath. And now one of them had returned, unarmed, alone, walking with predator cubs. First contact again. Ilara stopped near an ancient tree so large it looked like a mountain. She touched the bark gently. It pulsed beneath her palm. A faint humming surrounded her, the same hum from the monitor's recordings. This place still remembers, she whispered. The silver-striped cub stepped closer and sniffed her boot. Ilara smiled and crouched. Hey there, little hunter, she said softly. Her voice trembled, but it was warm. You're not afraid of me, are you? The cub tilted its head, curious, and pressed its nose to her hand. A flicker of blue light pulsed between them. In the tower, alarms beeped. Chief, neural link detected. Human to Karnak juvenile. Zira's eyes narrowed. Impossible. Cross-species resonance cannot occur without... She stopped. The data proved her wrong without... History, she finished quietly. The song of memory. Ilara opened the small capsule again. Inside, a faint blue orb shimmered, beating like a heart. She set it gently on the ground, and a low, rhythmic tone filled the air. The cubs relaxed instantly. Their breathing slowed. Their eyes softened. This song, Ilara whispered, was made for you. My mother recorded it 50 years ago when the war began. She said one day it might bring peace again. She didn't know the monitors could hear every word. In the tower, silence fell. Even the machines seemed to pause. Zira's claws tapped the floor. Her mother? 50 years ago. That would be during the Concord Initiative. Yes, said another monitor reading from the archives. The humans tried to share emotion-based healing through resonance technology. But the project failed. The Karnak refused. Zira's eyes burned. We didn't refuse. We couldn't feel it. The hidden signal back in the jungle, Ilara's device began to glow brighter. The hum deepened. It wasn't just sound, it was memory, frequency, and feeling all at once. She felt it in her chest, in her bones, like someone whispering, "You belong here." The cubs leaned closer until one of them rested its head against her arm. Far away, the monitor's instruments started syncing again. Lines that once looked like chaos now curved into elegant waves. "Chief, look," cried the technician. "The pattern's forming, a perfect symmetry between the human pulse and the cub's neural rhythm." Zira stared at the data. "It was beautiful and terrifying. What does it mean?" she asked quietly. "It means," the young technician said, "that they trust her." The voice from below, then the ground trembled. A deep vibration ran through the jungle, shaking the vines and soil. The cubs whined and huddled close to Ilara. In the tower, alerts blazed red. Seismic pulse detected. Origin beneath the den. Zira turned sharply. "Natural?" "No, Chief. Artificial. Old structure reactivating." Zira's throat tightened. "Old, as in before the war?" "Yes, and it's responding to the human's frequency." Zira looked back at the screen. Ilara stood near the den, the ground glowing faintly beneath her boots. Something below was waking up. The archive chamber A section of the earth shifted and opened, quietly, like a door remembering its duty. A tunnel descended into blue light. Ilara's eyes widened. "You're still here," she whispered. She looked down at the cubs. "Stay close." Without hesitation, she stepped inside. In the tower, chaos broke out. "Chief, she's entering the forbidden zone." "We lost visual." Radiation minimal, but energy output rising fast. Zyra slammed her hand on the console. "Send in a drone." A sphere-shaped drone launched from the tower, diving through the canopy and following the human's heat signature. Inside the tunnel, the drone's light flickered, revealing walls covered in glowing lines, symbols neither human nor Karnak. Zyra stared at the live feed. "It's a hybrid code," she whispered. "Half human, half ours." The past revealed. Ilara walked deeper. The walls around her pulsed like veins, and voices echoed, faint layered whispers of both human and alien tones. It felt like walking through history's heartbeat. At the chamber's center stood a tall, crystalline column. Inside it floated dozens of small blue spheres identical to the one she carried. She gasped. The conquered seeds. The drone's camera zoomed in. Zyra's eyes widened as she realized the truth. "Those aren't weapons," she said slowly. "They're memories," the technician frowned. "Memories?" "Yes, emotional recordings human empathy turned into light. They were meant to heal the predator minds, but we destroyed them all." Zyra's voice broke slightly. "Or so we thought." The human touch. Ilara placed her capsule against the column. The chamber responded instantly, filling with gentle music. Not mechanical, not cold. Alive. The light rippled across the walls, touching the carvings, spreading warmth. Her mother's voice echoed through the hall. "If you find this, my daughter, remember, life understands love faster than logic." Ilara closed her eyes. "I remember, Mom." The cubs pressed closer to her, purring softly. Monitor's dilemma in the tower. Zyra stood frozen. Her crew looked at her, waiting. "Chief, should we intervene? This could destabilize the whole region." "No," Zyra said firmly. "Let her finish." The young monitor hesitated. "But why?" Zyra's voice softened. "Because for the first time, the jungle is calm. The bridge awakens." The crystal column began to change shape, its light twisting upward into the ceiling. Beams of energy connected Ilara, the cubs, and the ancient walls in a web of brilliance. Symbols glowed brighter, rearranging themselves into a recognizable pattern, the shape of a heartbeat. In that moment, Ilara felt everything: the fear of the cubs, the regret of the monitors, the sorrow of her own people. And beneath it all, one truth pulsed like a drumbeat. They were never enemies, only broken echoes of the same survival instinct. Tears rolled down her face. "It's okay," she whispered to the cubs. "We can start again." Above the world, Zyra's control board lit up with synchronized signals. Every wild creature across Tarthus 9 was resonating to the same frequency. The jungle was singing. "Chief, the system's stabilizing planet-wide. Atmospheric pressure, temperature, everything's aligning." Zyra whispered, almost in awe. "The planet is healing." The young technician looked confused. "How? What did she do?" Zyra turned toward the screen. "She didn't fight the chaos," she said. "She listened to it. Ghosts of the past, but peace is never quiet for long." From the deepest part of the chamber, another voice spoke, cold, metallic, and ancient. A projection formed beside Ilara, a humanoid figure made of shifting light. Human signal detected. "Authorization required." Ilara froze. "Who are you?" "I am the Guardian Protocol. Last defense of the conquered archives. Identify." Ilara raised her chin. "Commander Ilara Venn, daughter of Dr. Lyra Venn. I carry her key." The hologram flickered, scanning her face. "Genetic match confirmed," it said finally. "Warning, the Karnak Accord was never completed. Do you wish to resume?" Ilara took a deep breath. "Yes," she said softly. "Resume the Accord." The resonance pulse, the chamber exploded in light. Energy rushed upward through the tunnels into the sky. The observation tower shook. Screens flashed white. Chief, massive resonance waves spreading across the hemisphere. "Hold position," Zyra shouted. When the light cleared, the forest below shimmered with faint blue veins, living energy flowing like rivers through the ground. And then the monitors heard it. Millions of heartbeats, all synchronized. Calm after chaos, Ilara stood in the quiet aftermath. The cubs were asleep beside her, peaceful at last. The blue orb had dimmed, its work done, she whispered, "Mom." It worked. Above her, Zyra watched through the drone feed. The alien leader felt something she had never felt before. A deep, quiet respect. "She's just one human," said the young monitor softly. Zyra nodded. "One human is enough." Ending of Part 2A's dawn touched the horizon. Ilara stepped out of the tunnel. The forest greeted her with silence. Not the silence of fear, but the silence of peace. Behind her, the cubs followed, yawning. The silver-striped one looked up and chirped softly, a sound like gratitude. Ilara smiled and looked toward the sky. Far above, she knew the monitors were watching. "Let them watch," she whispered. "They'll learn." And deep in the tower, Zyra whispered the same words. "They'll learn that chaos is not our enemy." It's the language of life. The dawn rose over Tarthus 9 like a new heartbeat. Golden light poured through the misty forest, glimmering across leaves wet with dew. The predator cubs lay sleeping, their bodies calm for the first time in days. High above, in the observation tower, Zyra 10 stood silent before the screens. Every monitor showed the same impossible truth. No chaos, no fear, no random noise. The readings that once looked like tangled lightning were now smooth, rhythmic waves. "Chief," whispered the young technician, awe in his voice. "We finally have a pattern." Zyra's golden eyes glowed. "No," she said softly. "We finally understand it." The awakening far below, Commander Ilara stepped into the open light. Her boots sank slightly in the damp soil. The jungle felt alive around her, watching, breathing, remembering. The cubs followed her quietly, eyes bright with trust. They had been born hunters, but now they were something more. They had learned peace. She looked up at the sky and whispered, "It's done. Mom, the world heard you." A soft breeze brushed against her face, almost like an answer. In the tower, Zyra watched the feed and whispered, "The human doesn't command the jungle. She listens to it. That's her weapon." The data that felt for decades the monitors had chased logic, numbers, patterns, perfect control. They had built machines to predict everything, to remove every unknown. But no algorithm could explain what had just happened. Zyra looked at the data one more time. Every pulse, every reading from the cubs, the forest, even the wind, it all followed a rhythm. Not a code made by machines, but by life itself. It wasn't randomness. It was emotion. The humans had called it resonance, the power of empathy. Zyra finally saw it for what it was, the pattern that the monitors had been blind to. The connection, a new signal appeared on the central display, an echo deep underground. "The Guardian Protocol," said the technician. "It's sending a message." Zyra leaned closer. Words formed in alien and human script. "The accord is complete. Life synchronization achieved." Below the text appeared a final line, simple and human. "The machines detect no pattern, but hearts always do." Zyra read the words twice, her voice trembling. "She's rewritten the code," she murmured. "Not with logic, with feeling." The meeting minutes later, a message came through the communication channel. Open, direct. Ilara's voice calm and tired. "Zyra 10, I know you're watching. You don't have to fear us anymore." Zyra froze. The human knew her name. Ilara continued. "Your cubs aren't broken. They remember what we shared long ago. The war didn't erase it. It just buried it under pain." Zyra hesitated, then pressed the mic. "You should not be here, human. You broke our laws." Ilara smiled faintly. "Maybe, but maybe your laws forgot something important." She looked toward the cubs. "Sometimes survival isn't about fighting. It's about listening." Silence followed. Then quietly Zyra said, "Then perhaps it is time we listened again." The legacy as the sun climbed higher. The jungle shimmered with new light. Energy rippled through every living thing, connecting them like invisible threads. Predator and prey, machine and mind, all breathing in the same rhythm. Zyra turned to her team. "Save this data," she ordered. "It's the first real pattern this planet has ever shown us." The young monitor smiled. "What should we call it?" Zyra paused, watching the human walk away through the mist, surrounded by cubs. Her golden eyes softened. "Call it the human pattern," she said. "The one our machines could never find." Epilogue. Ilara stopped at the edge of the forest, looking back one last time. The cubs watched her go, their eyes bright, their hearts steady. In the distance, the tower lights flickered in silent acknowledgement. For the first time in half a century, the monitors and the jungle shared peace. And as Alara's ship rose into the golden sky, her mother's words echoed one last time. The machines will never understand chaos, but in chaos, humans find meaning, and in meaning, they build peace. The ship disappeared beyond the clouds. The hum faded, and Tarthus 9 slept, not uneasily but in harmony.